Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be talking about Die Hard. So let's get into that. Now, this is my first time ever watching Die Hard. I know that might be kind of a bad thing to say because I know this is a very beloved movie, but it's not in an era where I grew up and watching this movie, and I've always heard good things about it, good praise about it, being one of the best action movies, being one of the best action Christmas movies, which we'll get a little more into in a little bit here. But seeing this movie for the first time, here in 2023, it's a lot different probably when seeing it back then when it first was released, but it was still an amazing epic action movie. Bruce Willis here is an amazing, of course he's an amazing actor, amazing action star, and this movie still holds up very, very well today. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the pros on Die Hard. First pro for me, as I kind of mentioned already, Bruce Willis as John McClane was pretty freaking awesome. He's a pretty great action hero here. He's a NYPD cop that is coming over to California to meet up with his wife and kids for a Christmas party where things kind of go awry, and there's some terrorists here that are taking all these people hostage at this company Christmas party and trying to steal some money from this vault. And John McClane, Bruce Willis, goes on a pretty much of a Rambo type of moment and starts trying to take out one by one of these terrorists as he's trying to figure out how to save everybody, keep himself alive. And he goes through a lot here. His body goes through a lot. By the beginning of it, he has a white tank top. By the end, his tank top is black. He has blood all over him. His feet are bleeding. He goes through hell and back. And seeing him do that in a very awesome way, it was pretty fun. It was a pretty great action movie that still holds up today. I also kind of enjoyed this buddy cop kind of moments that he's had with this LAPD officer. I believe his name is Paul. That's kind of talking to him on the radio throughout this entire movie, trying to keep him positive, trying to stay in touch with him to make sure he's okay throughout the entire film. He doesn't play too much a part in trying to help out on inside, but just being that communication and being able to have those kind of one-on-one talks and having some heartfelt talks as well about their lives. And Bruce Willis starts going through some kind of emotional roller coasters with himself because there's some issues with him and his wife, and he's starting to kind of vent to this LAPD cop because he thinks he's not going to make it out. And he's kind of there to reassure him, hey, just stick in there, we'll be there for you, we're going to get you out of there as soon as possible. So kind of having that buddy cop dynamic relationship between them two is pretty fun to see throughout the entire time. It has some emotional kind of relief there, emotional satisfaction towards the end as well. So that aspect of it I really enjoyed as well. I also enjoyed some of the kills here. The kills were actually pretty brutal, and for one of them, it was very Christmas themed. And people argue if this is a Christmas movie or not. I'll get more into that later. But one of them was a extremely Christmas theme, which I thought was pretty cool. And again, with the action being really heavy, a lot of the kills are pretty crazy and creative from John McClane's side, where he has to fend for himself multiple times and get creative on his kills to be able to kind of live through these situations that he got himself into. And lastly, I also kind of enjoyed the way this entire thing kind of wrapped up. It was very satisfying for everybody's end, for Bruce Willis's character, for his wife's character, for this buddy cop from LAPD's character, everybody's character arc, and it just ended in a very satisfying way. But where it didn't feel like it needed any sequels, this could be a pretty much standalone movie. Of course, they went on and made how many? I can see from here, five Die Hard movies, and I know they vary in quality from what I hear, but as a standalone Die Hard movie, I think it does a pretty good job at wrapping everything up and having a pretty satisfying ending overall. Now, I'm gonna try something a little new here. I'm sure you guys seen this in other reviews, but I'm gonna go into the mixed aspects. And for me, the biggest mixed aspect, and probably the only mixed aspect I have in this entire movie, is whether or not this is a Christmas film or not. There's a lot of Christmas themes here. They're at a Christmas party. This takes place on Christmas Eve. There's some Christmas music. Like I said, there is a Christmas kill. But for the most part, you don't get too much of the Christmas feel. This takes place in LA, so of course there's no snow outside, so you don't have that as a lingering Christmas kind of sprinkle on top throughout the entire film. So it's pretty much just a normal day in LA. And most of the action, there's not too much Christmas things around. There's some Christmas trees. You'll see like a little Santa Claus thing. There's again the Christmas Kill where he puts, now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho, on the sweater with the guy dead with the Christmas hat on. But besides that, it doesn't necessarily feel like a Christmas movie. But I do see both sides of this kind of aspect. This is obviously one of those movies that has a 50-50 split where people on this side heavily lean on that Christmas movie, and people on this side just say it's just an action movie that takes place on Christmas. And with something like earlier this month, like Silent Night, it had a similar feel where it just takes place on Christmas, but at least with Die Hard, although it didn't have the full Christmas punch, I feel like it gave a better effort on trying to make it a Christmas movie. With some Christmas music, some of the antagonists here singing a little bit Christmas songs, and the end credits having a Christmas music, it kind of gives you that stamp of approval. This is a Christmas movie, but that's just where I'm mixed at. I wish there was more Christmassy kills, feelings, and stuff like that in this movie to wholeheartedly set it as a Christmas movie. Other than that. Now on to the cons. For me, not too much here. I actually really love this movie. I'm planning on probably watching it every Christmas now. But my biggest con here is the main antagonist and his motivations. I feel like the scope of what this movie kind of tackles here, the main antagonist's motivation with Hans at just doing a heist in this building seemed kind of far-fetched, and even Bruce Willis's character kind of mentions it, like, all this just for a heist. And yeah, it's kind of true. When you're looking as a watcher on the outside perspective, you kind of feel the same way. All this just for a heist. So it just the motivations, the character himself of Hans, I didn't really think he was that charismatic, that intimidating. He was kind of just someone there, really, to be honest. I mean, his character, again, not much meat to the bone there. There's not really a backstory. There's not a huge motivation. Some of the exterior characters of his kind of little terrorist group felt like I had more charismatic tendencies to them and more of a backstory than the main protagonist here. Main antagonist, excuse me. So just that in general, having that villain that you don't really care too much about, at least in my opinion, kind of brings it down a little bit. But other than that, that's pretty much the only con I have here. I enjoyed the entire movie. But before, one last little con here. It's very minor. It's kind of a nitpick thing. I felt like certain pacing was a little off. The movie did feel kind of long in its runtime. I haven't looked at what the runtime actually is, but it does feel pretty long, and certain scenes felt like more extended than it should have been. But it's just some slight pacing issues. Nothing really major here. But let me know what you guys think about Die Hard. Do you think this is a Christmas movie? Let me know. Obviously, this is a beloved movie, and I really enjoyed it. And now I'm going to watch it more often because it was a pretty awesome action movie. So I'll definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it. But if you haven't, why not? Don't be under the rock like I was for many, many years. But again, this is Leo's Nerd Talk. If you guys like talking about anything movies, TV shows, or video game related, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll see you guys on the next review. Thank you.